If I can interject something, I'll say this too. I was really curious to hear about more about you with your dad playing in bands and stuff. You didn't talk about that much.
Yeah.
That's just me being selfish.
Yeah. Well,
you played bass.
You just like
drums.
you played bass too.
Yeah, that
bass
sounds
back
like my
then.
story because I played with my dad. My dad they'd practice at our house once a week. My dad's a little band, and I was just third, fourth grade, and I was like, man, this is so cool. So, but what you were saying earlier off camera reminded me a lot of that. I knew early on that's what I wanted to do. You
Yeah,
know?
me too.
Then this
When
jazz master showed up one day in early '60s, and I was a little bitty guy, and I was like, "Yeah, man, this is too good." You know.
My dad had this really cool silver tone that he got from the Sears catalog. It was red and it had those mother of toilet seats rocker switches and like a little up and down
Oh, yeah.
CBS switch.
Yeah.
And I took lessons from Rusty Anderson, and he plays with Paul McCartney now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
But
the
I
guy
took
that did
lessons from him in a little
Yeah.
closet at Red Duck Music in
How cool.
in Whittier, California, and then eventually he taught me, and I was way into country music, and he was way into rock, and eventually he went, man, I got a friend out in L.A. that I think you should go to, and it ended up being Will Ray from the Helicasters, and I went out there, and you'd think I'd be a better guitar player, but as soon as I learned how to chord and write, I quit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first guitar. Yeah, and I played bass with my dad and my brother. My brother played acoustic guitar. My dad played electric.
Yeah.
And we played as the Herzberg family
Love
trio.
that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, you know
Family
what?
trio.
Someone asked Roger Miller once, and you probably heard this, but so about playing guitar. Somebody asked Roger once, says, Roger, do you ever play down in here? And Roger said, no, I stay right down in here where all the money is, right in here.
I had somebody tell me that a long time ago.
Classic
There's no
line.
money up here. All that.
Yeah. All the
There's
money.
no money up there.
Yeah, man.
Well, I can
Classic.
tell you that Steve and I are really proud of these guys.
Yeah,
man.
no
This is
question
so,
about that, man.
You know, it wasn't to disparage the idea of a career in music. It was just like, you know, it's a tough gig.
It's a tough
It
road.
really
I
is.
agree.
And
But-
it needs to
I
be
agree.
their decision, what they want to
Yeah.
do.
It's interesting though when you see it from this perspective and you see your dad doing it. You're like, oh, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It seems like
exactly.
it seems more reachable. You know what I
Jamie,
mean?
you're probably like Ryan. I'm sure you are. That's all you've been around your whole life,
Yeah.
probably. You know,
Yep.
all you've known is guitars and music and touring and radio hits and.
Never
you
thought
know,
twice. I never thought about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
did you
assumed
have
it
a
was
backup
To me, it
plan?
was
programmed.
it was a very magical thing that
No.
happened in
No, me
Nashville.
neither.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was for us. It was like nobody had ever had a career in music. So to think that I could come to this town and do it was very lofty.
2,000
to me
miles
when
away.
we moved out. Yeah, and I actually got a deal before I moved out.
Yeah.
Which made it a little easier when I got here.
I said this in an interview not long ago, pertaining to an album I did back around Christmas time called All Over the Map. Ryan came and brought a piece of music that we turned into a song and recorded. It's called The Last Word. And I said this in the interview. It's hard to describe to someone. You two would get it, and Gary, you'd get it. But generally, most folks, they won't experience this, but there's nothing like, and I may embarrass Ryan saying this, but there's nothing like sitting like we did in the studio with Greg Morrow and Willie Weeks and Matt Rawlings and all these great players, and you're listening to your son in your headphones across the room, and you can watch him, and he's playing all these beautiful parts and wonderful things. There's nothing, you can't really describe that when you
Yeah.
to hear your kid, you're in the studio recording a
Yep.
part on a new album that you're working on, and it's your kid doing it, and you're like, man, that's about as proud as you can get right
yeah,
there. So,
big time.
That's
I know. My dad, when I got offered my first record contract when I was 15 through Herb Albert at A&M Records.
yeah,
And my
yeah.
dad wouldn't let me do it. And I remember I got pissed off and I wouldn't play in his band anymore. You know, I was like, this is dumb.
Show
This is
you.
yeah. And this is what John was trying to get me to bring up. My dad always had this thing that he would say. He goes, you need to play for because I imitated people back then. And he said, you need to play for the people that love you, the people that hate you, and the people that could care less. He goes, and you'll find yourself somewhere in there.
Wow.
And,
That's great.
And I never
That's
knew what
good,
I never
man.
knew what he meant, but I remember being 23. And I remember distinctly remembering when I didn't have to think about how I was going to sing somebody else's song, because I did imitate people when I was
did,
young,
yeah,
and that's
you
what he
did
said.
so much
He
of
goes,
it.
if I give you to them now, they're going to create whatever they want, and you'll never be what you want. And I remember thinking that when it happened, like, you know what? I am me right now because if you hand me any song, I'm just going to sing it and it's
You're
going
just
to come
gonna
out the
do
way
it
I'm going to
your
sing
way,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's where you used to have to think about that when you first started. So I didn't really get what he meant until then, but I remember I got a record contract soon after that because I was, he just told me you're not ready.
Well, I learned early on you just have to, exactly what you said, you have to be yourself and find your own way. There's only going to be one Chet Atkins in the world and one
Yeah.
Wayne Campbell, and I mean,
It's so
gosh,
true.
nobody's going to be Merle Haggard.
I used to be hung up on everybody else's better,
Yeah.
and I remember
Yeah.
Jay Joyce. And this is kind of weird. I'd never played on a record except that last record, and it was when Jay Joyce produced me, and he just went, "I've seen you play. You're going to play on this record." And to me, I was always like,
Yeah.
"There's so many other guys that could do." And he goes, "Nobody's going to play it like you."
No, he's right.
Period.
That's great.
And it was like that was the best thing he could have said.
He's
'Cause I'm like,
great,
you know
Jay,
what?
yeah.
It will be primitive, but it's right. It's my primitive.
It's you. Yeah, man. You're right.
That's a
great
great. I mean,
advice.
that's a great
Yeah, yeah.
approach, right
Yeah,
there,
no
too.
doubt.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I hope this circle keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I hope
Absolutely.
to someday sit here and do this with Declan or something like that.
Yeah. Right now, he's right-handed, but he holds the guitar like this.
Oh
Jamie,
Pretends to
get home and turn that guitar over
turn
as soon
that
as you
guitar
get
over.
home.
Listen, mate, turn that guitar.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the big takeaway from
It
that.
is.
If your kid's
Kids,
playing the guitar
turn that guitar
backwards,
over.
turn it around.
Work on that.
Not this way.
Right. Exactly.
Somebody already tried to do that on that.
They
Sorry.
Yeah,
Somebody tried to
man.
make sounds on it and it didn't work. Did it?
That's a turn his
Classic.
tub and says
Classic
thanks on
buckle,
it.
right?
And then you can do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I think we got it, boys.
All right.
Thanks so
Thanks
much
for
for doing
having
this.
us.
Thanks,
That's great.
I thought this came out great.
Dude.
Yeah, it was
thank
really
you.
fun, man. Thanks for it. It
Yeah.
was really, really fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys. That was